Have you ever opened a drawer and found a small object from decades ago? A broken key, a faded photo, a note in someone's handwriting who is no longer here? What did you feel? A smile, a sigh, a moment of silence that seemed to stretch far beyond the room? At a certain age, life begins to whisper questions it never asked before. Questions about space, about weight, not just physical weight, but emotional gravity, the kind that settles into every room we've ever lived in, every gift we've received, every keepsake we've dusted but not dared to throw away. Today I want to have a conversation, not a lecture, not a list of tips, but something gentler, a walk through thought, through memory, a conversation about minimalism, not for the young with their empty apartments and Instagram shelves, but for those of us who have lived full lives and collected the evidence of living. The world outside is talking loudly about decluttering. Marie Kondo, the minimalists, storage units emptied, garages swept clean. They speak of joy through simplicity, freedom through letting go. But what happens when the things we're asked to let go of are not just things, but pieces of the people we've loved? Let's sit together, you and I, maybe on a porch, maybe near a window where the light is soft and familiar. Let's ask ourselves slowly, what does it mean to simplify at 60, at 70, at 80? When every item has lived a story with you, a shared moment, a long season, a quiet chapter, how do we know what deserves to stay and what is ready to be released? Some days the urge comes strong. You want to clear it all out. You want air. You want less to manage, less to dust, fewer things to trip over or remember. Your knees hurt. The stairs are too many. The closet door sticks. And so, the idea of a tidy, bright, open space sounds like a breath of fresh air. But other days, maybe rainy ones, or days when a particular memory arrives uninvited. The idea of giving away that cracked dish from your mother's house, or that faded postcard from your honeymoon, feels almost cruel. These are not things, they are witnesses, companions, reminders that you were here, that you are still here. So what do we do? The truth is, there's no right answer. There is only your answer. And that answer might change from day to day. That's okay. Let's begin by remembering this. Minimalism is not a demand. It is an invitation to be thoughtful, to choose deliberately, not to erase the past, but to honor it in a way that feels lighter. Imagine your home, not as a museum or a warehouse, but as a storybook. Each item on each shelf, a sentence, a paragraph, a chapter. Not all of them need be kept forever. Some are footnotes. Some were written in haste. But others are poetry, and those deserve a place. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. Letting go doesn't mean you loved less. Sometimes it simply means you're ready to hold memories in your heart instead of your hands. And sometimes it means saying, not yet, I still need this near me. Do you remember the first home you moved into? The one with the curtains you picked out together? Or the chair that rocked your children to sleep? Some of those things may still be with you. Some may be gone. And yet the memory remains, shaped not just by what you kept, but by what you were willing to release when the time was right. There is wisdom in keeping. There is wisdom in letting go. The real art lies in knowing which is which. Perhaps you've been thinking of moving to a smaller place, to somewhere quieter, maybe even to be closer to family. And maybe that thought brings with it a quiet fear. What will I do with all my things? Start with one shelf, one drawer, one object. Pick it up, look at it, ask, do I still love this? Do I still need this? Does this carry joy or guilt? Sometimes we keep things not out of love, but out of obligation. Guilt is not a reason to keep an object, but love is. And if it's hard to decide, give yourself time. You've spent a lifetime gathering. Don't rush the release. Let someone help you. Invite a friend, a grandchild. Share the story of the object. You might be surprised. They might want to keep it, not because it's useful, but because it carries your voice. The beauty of this age is that we can be both editors and curators of our lives. We can shape the space around us to reflect who we are now, not just who we were. We can leave behind a home that feels lighter, truer, more peaceful. Does this mean living with bare walls and empty counters? It means living with intention, choosing not just what stays, but why it stays. A photograph of your first trip abroad, a quilt sewn by a friend long gone, a book with pages worn from being read again and again. These are not clutter, these are soul marks. But 6 can openers, 7 sets of dish towels, 3 broken clocks? Maybe those are waiting for their release. This is your time, your space, your voice. Minimalism is not about absence. It is about essence. You deserve a home that reflects your heart, not the pressure of trends or the judgment of others. You deserve to live among things that support your life, not weigh it down. And so I ask you gently, what feels like a burden and what feels like a blessing? Choose blessing, choose story, choose peace. And know this, whatever you keep, whatever you release, you are not your things. You are the one who remembers, who chooses, who still lives and still loves. That is enough. Let's keep walking through this journey together. I'll be here, and maybe next time we'll talk about what it means to leave something behind, not just for ourselves, but for those we love. Until then, may your rooms be filled with peace and your shelves with meaning. Some people say, you can't take it with you. But that's not quite true, is it? Because in some way, we do. We take the feeling of the things, the stories, the symbols. When we let go of the physical object, we are sometimes letting go of a part of ourselves, or learning to carry it differently. Have you ever found yourself pausing at the edge of a donation box, holding a coat, a book, a holiday decoration? Your fingers don't want to let go, but you can't explain why. That's not foolishness. That's humanity. That's the tender thread between who we were and who we are now. Sometimes minimalism at our age is less about having less and more about being more. More open, more present, more rooted. We start asking different questions. Do I need this? Becomes, what does this mean to me now? And perhaps more profoundly, who am I becoming as I gently put down what I once clung to? Let me ask you something that may take a moment. What is one object in your home you'd never part with? Not because it's valuable to others, but because it holds something sacred to you. What story would you tell me about it if I were sitting across from you now? These are not just household items. They are spiritual artifacts. And curating them, mindfully, slowly, is a kind of spiritual practice in itself. And yet there is also something sacred about empty space. An empty chair where morning light rests. A shelf with just 3 things you love, instead of 30 you've grown indifferent to. A kitchen drawer that opens and closes without resistance, ready to serve, not to overflow. Minimalism gives us room, not just physically but emotionally, to breathe. And that matters more with age, because our energy is more precious now, our attention is more discerning, and peace is a deeper need than ever. Have you noticed that the older we get, the more noise we wish to quiet, the noise of pressure, the noise of comparison, the noise of other people's expectations. Simplifying your space can help you silence that noise, to hear your own voice again. Imagine waking up tomorrow and walking into a home where everything visible is something that makes you feel calm, or warm, or gently alive. What would that home look like? Not a magazine perfect photo, your real sanctuary. What might you remove? And what would you treasure even more, now that it's no longer buried in the crowd? You see, we are not trying to strip away life. We are trying to reveal it. When we keep only what speaks clearly to us, the room begins to speak back. We feel invited to rest, to notice, to reflect. It's easier to hear the memories. It's easier to notice the light. And sometimes in those quiet corners, something surprising happens. We begin to imagine again. We begin to look forward, not just back. Do you believe in that? That at 60 or 70 or 85, we can still look forward? I do. Maybe not to something grand or loud, but to something gentle and true. A smaller home, a new habit, a simpler table, a letter written, a book reread, a friend remembered. Simplifying creates room for that. Let me tell you about Eleanor. She was 78 when she decided to leave the house she'd lived in for 45 years. Her children were worried. "Are you sure, Mom? You have so many things there. Are you ready to give that up?" She smiled and said, "I'm not giving up anything. I'm bringing the best of it with me." She spent 6 months going through her home, not purging, choosing. She kept the table where her husband once wrote letters, the worn chair where her dog had slept, the yellowing recipe cards in her mother's handwriting. She let go of 10 coats but kept 2, her favorite, and one that reminded her of Paris. When she moved, her new home wasn't big, but it was full of soul. And she said something I'll never forget. "I didn't downsize. I distilled." That's what this is. Not shrinking life, but distilling it. Like a good soup simmered for hours. Stronger, clearer, more nourishing. So if this process ever feels overwhelming, remember, it is not a race. It is not a contest. It is a homecoming. You are returning to what matters. You are remembering who you are underneath it all. And maybe, just maybe, you are creating a kind of space where someone else, a child, a neighbor, even your future self, will walk in and say, "I feel peace here." Isn't that a beautiful gift to offer? Let's pause here for a moment. Put down the weight of what you should do and ask yourself gently, like a friend would, what would feel like a kindness to myself today? Would it be sorting one drawer, letting go of one old towel, or sitting quietly beside an old photo, allowing yourself to cry? This journey is not about perfection. It is about truth and compassion and care. You are not alone in this. Not now, not ever. Let's keep going. There's something deeply moving about seeing space open up. Maybe it's a cleared shelf, or the sound of a closet door that finally closes without resistance. Or maybe it's something less visible, the gentle quiet that begins to settle inside you. Have you felt that lately? That soft hush after you let something go that you no longer needed? It's not always easy. Sometimes it comes with a pang, but sometimes it comes with relief. The kind of relief that arrives not because we got rid of something, but because we honored what mattered and gave ourselves permission to move forward. One woman I spoke with, named Ruth, told me how she cried over a pair of gloves. Not fancy ones, just plain, beige wool gloves her sister had left behind years ago. She found them in a box marked Winter, and there she was, at 82, holding those gloves as if they were sacred. She didn't throw them away. She didn't put them back in the box. She placed them in a small wooden bowl by her bed. "I just wanted to see them," she said. "They remind me that she loved me." Sometimes minimalism doesn't mean letting go of the object, but letting go of where we hide it. Do you have something like that? Something that wants to come out of the box? Minimalism for us is not an aesthetic. It's a relationship, a conversation between the present and the past, the physical and the emotional, the sacred and the ordinary. And the goal isn't perfection, it's resonance. When you walk through your home, do you feel embraced? Do the things around you support your life now? Or hold you to a version of yourself that no longer fits? There's a quiet wisdom in asking those questions, not once but over time. As we change, our homes should change too. They are not monuments, they are mirrors. Some people ask, "But what if I regret giving something away?" Yes, that might happen. But let me ask you this. Have you ever regretted holding on too long? There's no shame either way. We are not machines. We are memory keepers, soul tenders, and every choice is a brushstroke on the canvas of our final decades. So be gentle with yourself. Be patient. You don't have to do it all this year. You don't even have to do it all at all. Minimalism after 60 is not a requirement. It's a possibility, one that may look different for each of us. I visited homes where every surface was bare, and the person felt lonely in it. I visited others where every wall told a story, and yet the space breathed like a quiet chapel. It's not about how many things you have. It's about whether what you have has meaning. Imagine your home as a sanctuary, not a showroom. Would you keep the same furniture? Would you move the chair closer to the window, where the light is kindest in the afternoon? Would you finally open the box of letters you've avoided, not to throw them away, but to feel seen again by someone who once knew you? We are still allowed to feel. We are still allowed to change. Sometimes the greatest act of courage in our later years is to let our homes reflect not who we were, but who we are becoming. What are you becoming? Is it peace? Is it quiet joy? Is it presence? I think of Harold, a man who turned his garage into a reading nook. All his life, that garage had been filled with tools he hadn't used in 20 years. They reminded him of a version of himself he once admired, the builder, the fixer, the strong one. But one day he sat in the garage and said, "I'm tired of pretending I'll build something again. I want to read in the sunlight." So he gave away the tools, cleaned the shelves, rolled out a carpet, moved a chair, hung up a bird feeder outside the garage door. That space didn't become empty. It became him. That's what we're really doing, isn't it? We're not making room for nothing. We're making room for ourselves. And sometimes that means learning to see our worth apart from our usefulness. We are not just what we produce, or fix, or preserve. We are allowed to rest, to enjoy, to be. If no one has told you that lately, let me be the one to say it. You are allowed to be. To sit in a room with only a few beloved things, to sip tea with no agenda, to breathe and not apologize. And if there's still too much around you, that's okay. It will wait. You don't need to prove anything. This is your season to listen inward and let your space become a quiet echo of your deepest values. Not because you followed a rule, but because you followed yourself. There's a certain grace in living with only what your soul says yes to. And if you're like many people I've spoken with, you might find that grace feels a lot like peace. The kind of peace that doesn't come from a tidy room alone, but from a home that reflects your heart without cluttering your spirit. So how do we begin to listen to that inner voice, especially after decades of putting others first? We ask ourselves gently, what do I need now? Not what did I need at 35? Not what do others think I should want? But today, in this body, in this season, what would feel kind? What would feel just right? Sometimes it's a soft chair by the window. Sometimes it's a radio that still plays music from your 20s. Sometimes it's nothing more than a vase with one flower, because beauty still belongs in your life, and you deserve to look at something that makes you smile. One man told me he gave away half his books, but kept a handful he read every winter. They feel like old friends, he said. They know where I've been. That's the kind of minimalism that matters, not for fashion, not for approval, but for truth. And you know something else? When we simplify with love, we make room not only for ourselves, but for connection. It becomes easier to invite someone in, a neighbor, a grandchild, a friend we haven't seen in a while. The space isn't crowded with boxes or distractions. The table is clear, the kettle is on, and suddenly what was once just a room becomes a place where presence is possible. Have you ever noticed how silence in a calm room feels different from silence in a cluttered one? The stillness feels warmer, less lonely, more alive. This is why the decision to keep or release something shouldn't be rushed. Not because you're indecisive, but because you're wise. You know that every object holds layers, and you want to honor those layers, not tear them away. Maybe there's a collection on your shelf you haven't looked at in years. Porcelain birds, coins, thimbles. You're not sure if you even like them anymore, but you remember who gave them to you or where you found them. So here's a question. If you gave one of those away today, would it take something essential from you or give something essential back? There is no right answer, only your answer. And your answer might change tomorrow. That's part of the journey. What if we gave ourselves permission to change our minds, to let something go today and wish we had it back next week, and be okay with that, to keep something now and release it later when it's ready, to know that home isn't a museum of perfect decisions, but a living space for a living soul. Some people wait too long. They wait until someone else has to decide what stays, and that too is a choice. But you're here, thinking, feeling, beginning, and that means everything. I don't know what's in your attic. I don't know what's in your heart, but I trust you'll know when the time comes to open the box. You'll hold something in your hand and feel a shift, like a weight or a lightness. And that moment will be your teacher. You'll look at an old coat and remember a night of laughter, or a long walk home, or the smell of rain. You'll smile, maybe you'll cry, and then you'll decide. Keep it, pass it on, wrap it gently and tuck it into someone else's story. This is what it means to age with grace, not to escape the past, but to carry it wisely, and only as far as you need. You are still becoming, and your home, your space, is becoming with you. Let it. Let it open up like a field at dawn. Let it breathe. Let it whisper. Let it tell you in its own quiet way. This right here is enough, and so are you. Maybe you've wondered, even quietly, what will they think when they come here after I'm gone? It's not a morbid question, it's an honest one. And it's something many of us think about, not with fear, but with love. What legacy will I leave behind? What will my children, or the neighbor down the hall, or that dear friend I haven't seen in a while, Discover when they walk through this space, not just the things, but the feeling. Will they feel overwhelmed by what they have to sort? Or will they feel something else, a kind of clarity, a kind of peace? Some people leave behind clutter, others quietness. You get to choose what that quiet says. It doesn't have to be minimal, but it can be meaningful. And meaning in the end is what we crave most, even more than memories. We want the pieces we leave behind to speak for us, to say, this mattered to me, or simply, this was enough. Think of a single drawer in your home. Could it become a kind of love letter? Not with words, but with intention. A small box of old letters, a pair of reading glasses, a photo of someone you never stopped loving. If someone found it, would they feel your presence? You don't need to create a shrine, just a signal that you lived, that you felt deeply, that you knew what was worth keeping. And maybe that's the most radical thing we can do with the time we have left. To live in such a way that our space becomes a blessing, not a burden, to curate, not accumulate, to pass along, not pile up, to bless others now with what we no longer need, and to give ourselves the gift of space, simplicity, and self-understanding. Because when the noise fades and the house quiets down, and the sun moves across the floor in the afternoon, what remains? Only what we chose with care, only what sings quietly back to us. And that song is not about things, it's about presence. What a beautiful thing then, to grow older, not by fading, but by becoming more precise, not emptier, but more full of what truly matters. A teacup you reach for every morning, a well-worn cardigan that still fits just right, a single frame photo of your parents smiling on their wedding day. That's not emptiness. That's memory distilled into essence. And there's power in that. Power in choosing. Power in claiming your space with love, with softness, with wisdom. Power in saying, I will not be owned by the past, but I will not forget it either. I will honor it and then breathe into what's left. So take your time. This isn't a weekend project, it's a lifelong unfolding. And you are doing just fine. You are learning the art of release. And in that, you are becoming free. Freedom at this stage of life doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Sometimes it's the quietest thing in the room. The empty corner you cleared to sit and breathe. The drawer that no longer groans when you open it. The calm in your chest when you realize there's nothing left you're holding on to, just because you didn't know what else to do with it. There is freedom in deciding, freedom in no longer deferring to what others expect, freedom in knowing that your life, your space, and your rhythm are yours to define. This isn't about having fewer things. It's about making more space for what matters. Rest, reflection, maybe even laughter. Sometimes it's as simple as being able to find what you need without searching. Sometimes it's having a chair by the window and the time to sit in it. Sometimes it's letting go of the guilt that you should be keeping more, doing more, saving more, proving more. You've already lived many lives inside this one. You've already proven enough. Now is the season to live in alignment, to let your surroundings echo your values, not your obligations. Imagine this. You walk into a room and everything in it has a reason, a story, a purpose, or simply peace. There's no apology needed, no explanation, no hidden piles or nagging reminders, just presence, just stillness, just you. And when someone walks in after you're gone, because that day will come for all of us, they won't just see what you left behind. They'll feel it. They'll say, this space knew who she was. Or, this room remembered what mattered to him. That is legacy, not stuff, not volume, not accumulation, but clarity, but intention, but love. So if you're holding something right now and wondering whether to keep it, pause. Don't ask, does this spark joy? Ask, does this still honor my life? You'll know the answer. Maybe not right away, but soon, in stillness, in honesty, in love. And then, let it go. Or let it stay. But do it on your terms, because minimalism, when done right, is not about stripping life away. It's about revealing the life still within you, and the life you still have to give. Let your home reflect that. Let it be a mirror, a song, a sanctuary, not perfect, but present, not empty, but open. And may you, as you move through the rooms of your days, feel light. Not because you carry nothing, but because you carry only what you've chosen with love. Thank you for walking this path with me. May your next breath be easy. May your hands feel free. And may your space, however small, however quiet, feel like home.